One of the most important things I learned during my caregiving days was to allow space for more than just crisis in my mind. I had to allow space for joy, allow space for gratitude, allow space for wonderment, allow space for hope. And in the days we live in, I feel as if it would be a really valuable thing that I invite you to do is to allow space for more than one emotion to occupy your mind and your heart. We are multidimensional human beings, and we are capable of holding two things at once. That's the complexity of the human experience, is that some days there's joy, and some days there's frustration, and some days there's both. And we need to allow space for both. Let's get into it. During my caregiving days, I found it really therapeutic to share on the internet in real time some of the things that were actively traumatizing me about caregiving, about witnessing the love of my life lose his ability to ALS. And that's how I built my following. Everyone found me when I was in the midst of sharing the most vulnerable pieces of myself. And I was doing it in a way to heal, but I was also doing it in a way that I wanted to bring awareness for what ALS was doing. And I wanted desperately to remind people that if you had an able body, if you could take a deep breath, if you could get out of bed, if you could taste food, to just remember the simplicity of things to be thankful for. And as I have transitioned my message to a place of me being healed and me being empowered as hope and out sharing my message now of let me help you reach the place I'm at now, which is I went through a lot of trauma. And it wasn't just trauma through taking care of Steve, it was also trauma my whole childhood. And then, the world causes us all a lot of trauma because we're very aware of everything that goes on in the world. Every war traumatizes our brains, whether we admit that or not. Every division that we are shown traumatizes us. And so to be able to hold space for the fact that there is still trauma within my being, my hurt still exists, but I also feel so thankful for the way in which I can see myself show up differently than where I did 4 years ago. And yes, there's still some times where those old stories show up. One of the old stories is when I first lost Steve and I was trying to figure out what to do in the world, I felt directionless. I felt like I just wanted somebody to come and point the path I was supposed to take and make it easy for me. And that was not happening. But through a lot of sitting and a lot of pushing through and a lot of writing and a lot of creating and a lot of crying and a lot allowing myself to feel the feelings, but also starting to tap back into joy, into things that inspired me, allowing myself to be delighted, allowing myself to go out in the world, I was able to find my way. And one of my friends told me is that I am a student of the earth. And what happens is sometimes we'll sit and just try to figure things out by sitting and thinking. And a lot of times that's when I get stuck. What I really need to be doing is out, living, talking to people, experiencing things, tasting food, seeing art, going to the river and going on hikes. Why do you think I like hikes so much? Walking clears the cobwebs. So when I started to share more of this healed space, I got a question on my social media that really stopped me in my tracks and made everything make sense about the way in which we perceive and receive people who are in healed spaces. They said, I don't know how it's possible that you can be proclaiming yourself as being healed and hopeful after everything you've went through, and how everything you went through has opened you up to the realities of the world. And what that means is, I understand how much the earth being damaged by humans contributes to illness, and I understand how much trauma exists in the world and how a lot of the system is set up this way, and how the world thrives on us being sick and it makes us sick. And I am very aware. And so a lot of times people get confused of how I can be so aware, but yet also actually be hopeful. Not everyone has been given permission to feel the full complexity of the human experience. I don't think people have been given permission to feel like they're allowed to heal and allowed to be hopeful. The reality of the situation sometimes is that things are hard and aren't fair, but I also still hold this deep hope that goodness will prevail, because I also see a lot of people out in the world who understand now is the time to be putting out messages of hope and love. And now is the time to give everyone permission to feel your feelings, authentically feel your sadness, your anger, your disappointment. Feel it with love. And what I mean by that is, tell yourself, it's okay that I feel this way. Validate your experience. Maybe sit in a cozy spot like I've created for myself in my friend's house and journal. Hug yourself, do some self-massage. Allow yourself love as you're feeling your feelings, but also, just as importantly, allow yourself to tap into your joy. Give yourself permission to seek out things that make you feel alive. Practice gratitude. Practice witnessing the hope you see in the world. Practice allowing yourself to be open to the idea that things could still get better. Practice allowing yourself to see you being a part of things getting better. The world is a complex place, but we are so capable of holding the complexities of it and allowing ourselves the true, authentic human experience, which is to feel all the feelings that come up, but to still remain hopeful that life can still be beautiful, that even in some of the darkest days, that's when the light shines the brightest. What would it look like if you were to anchor into a space that allowed you to have space for both? What would it look like if you created the vessel to where you allowed yourself to feel your feelings in a way where you loved yourself through them and you validated the experience, but then you also allowed yourself to see the sun and allowed yourself to see the beauty and allowed yourself to see healing as capable? So when that person commented on my thing saying, how is it possible that I could actually be hopeful and from a healed place after everything I've been through and after knowing everything going on in the world? And it's because even in the hardest times with Steve, I saw him still smile at everyone who walked in that room, and he lived his life with such a vigor that no illness could take that away. I saw thousands of people be inspired to live their lives fuller because they witnessed somebody with a terminal illness not only not give up, but to actually turn his illness into purpose and to share it in such a way where he was able to touch everyone and let them understand that we all live in a delicate balance of life. We never know when something can happen to us. So let's celebrate every single day we get to be here, especially if you're an able body. Your loved ones are still here. You have freedom. You get to eat food. You can swallow. You can get out of bed. What has remained the most true for me in this experience is that I have to stay grounded because I'm a multi-hyphenate person. I have a little ADHD, and I've learned so many tips and tricks about how to stay in my own energy, how to stay in my center, how to focus. And I, in fact, am going to write an entire class about that because it's something that I have had my own experience with. And as I've said many times, my healing is my message. The things that I have gone through is literally for me to be able to help other people go through it. I know it, I believe in it, and I trust it. But one of the things that I've had to work really hard on is when I'm open to all the complexities of the human experience, sometimes I also get really swayed by it. And so having things to keep me grounded is the most important thing I do in my life. Having my journal, having a meditation practice, having a yoga practice, having people that I can bounce things off of when I'm feeling scattered. As long as I am keeping myself clear, as long as I am being honest to myself, as long as I am saying, hey, I can hold these two conflicting ideas, I can hold these two conflicting paths in life, I can pursue all of the things I'm feeling called to, I can live life in my whimsy, by inspiration, flowing with wherever life is taking me next kind of way, but only if I'm grounded in believing in it and actually staying focused and not giving into the distractions. So allowing yourself to feel the human experience also sometimes means protecting yourself from the distractions of it. You can be an informed citizen, but you don't need to be a consumed citizen. So please find your balance of what it takes to be able to hold all of the different things that life is bringing us. Because there is such a duality in the world, and it's part of what's so beautiful. You have to allow yourself to feel the sad and frustration. It's actually what makes the beauty all that more beautiful. Every time you let yourself reach a depth of you, whether it's a depth of despair or a depth of joy, you are able to feel life deeper, and you're also able to tap into more purpose, more passion, more faith, and more hopefulness. So when I talk about hopefulness, it's not this airy fairy thing that doesn't have roots. Hopefulness is genuinely allowing yourself to be open to the full human experience because you trust in your capacity to do so. You're not going to get swallowed by the feelings. You're not going to get stuck. And you're not going to turn your back towards following dreams and making connections. And we're not going to allow the world to convince us that we don't know how to come together and bring the light into the world. We're not going to allow the story that only bad is going to continue to thrive in the world. We're going to remember that as a human species, when we come together, especially coming together for the good, we have such a capacity to bring change. But we can't do that if we're hopeless. We can't do that if we're forgetting to tap into joy and to tap into the possibility that things can get better. So yeah, it's okay to feel frustrated, but do not lose sight on the fact that sometimes out of frustration comes the most beautiful clarity and the most beautiful healing and joy. If you are ready to tap into that space inside of you that has the capacity to truly feel your feelings from a place of love so that you can heal the feelings and heal the trauma and remove them from being stuck within your body while simultaneously operating from a place of hopefulness and a place of trusting that the best is yet to come, and operating in a place where we are putting that energy into the world, which is needed more than ever. We are putting love, we are putting hope, we are putting our faith, we are putting every bit of goodness into the world. If you're ready to be there, let's get you there. We need you here. I believe in you. You have the capacity to hold all of this at once. You're very, very capable.